Family dinners at the Sullivan Mansion were always an exercise in humiliation, but this one promised to be especially brutal. I adjusted my simple blue dress, the nicest thing I owned, before ringing the doorbell, bracing myself for another evening of thinly veiled insults and condescending smirks. My name is Olivia Sullivan, though my family hardly acknowledges the surname anymore. Not since I broke ranks 5 years ago to start my own company instead of joining Sullivan Enterprises, our family's prestigious investment firm. The door swung open to reveal my mother, Elizabeth Sullivan, perfectly coiffed as always. Her eyes performed their usual disappointed scan of my appearance. "Oh, Olivia. Couldn't you have worn something more appropriate? Your brother's celebrating his promotion to executive vice president." I bit back a retort. My brother Michael, the golden child, had been celebrating his various promotions every month since our father handed him a director position straight out of college. The mansion's grand dining room was already full when I entered. Michael held court at one end of the table, his expensive watch glinting as he gestured dramatically, probably recounting another of his supposed business victories. "Ah, the prodigal daughter returns," he announced as I took my seat. "How's that little startup of yours doing? Still disrupting the industry?" He made air quotes, earning chuckles from our cousins. I poured myself a generous glass of wine. "Precision Tech is doing fine, Michael. We're actually working on some exciting new dash." "Precision Tech," my father interrupted, testing the words like they tasted bitter. "Such a waste of your education, Olivia. A Stanford MBA, and you're playing with computer codes in some rented office space." "It's artificial intelligence and machine learning, Dad. We're developing predictive analytics software that could revolutionize dash." "Please," Michael scoffed, "the only thing you're revolutionizing is how to burn through investor money. How much was your last funding round?" $2 million. "I lose more than that in market fluctuations before breakfast." More laughter. I gripped my fork tighter, remembering the real numbers in my company's accounts. Numbers they knew nothing about. "Speaking of real business," my father said, straightening his tie, "Michael has just secured the biggest deal in Sullivan Enterprises history. A merger with Global Financial Solutions." There was the real reason for this dinner. I watched my brother preen under our father's praise. $500 million, Michael boasted. "The paperwork's all ready. Tomorrow morning we sign the final documents and Sullivan Enterprises becomes the largest investment firm on the East Coast." My mother beamed. "And to think, Olivia, this could have been your life too. Instead." She gestured vaguely at my entire existence. I took another sip of wine, thinking about the email I'd received just that morning. About the documents sitting in my office safe. About tomorrow's meeting. "The merger's public knowledge then?" I asked casually. Michael smirked. "Not yet. Strictly confidential until the signing tomorrow. Not that you need to worry about such things in your, what do you call it, tech space." "Tell us again what your company actually does," my cousin Emma chimed in, false curiosity dripping from every word. "Something with computers?" I had explained Precision Tech's mission countless times over the years. How we were developing AI-driven financial analysis tools that could predict market trends with unprecedented accuracy. How our software could revolutionize investment strategies and risk assessment. But they never listened. They were too busy laughing at my cute little project, too convinced of their own superiority in the world of high finance. "You know what?" I said, setting down my glass. "You're right. Maybe I should just admit defeat. Close up shop. Come crawling back to Sullivan Enterprises." Michael's eyes lit up with triumph. "Finally seeing sense, sis? Well, I might be able to find you an entry-level position. Something suitable for your experience level." The contempt in his voice made my skin crawl, but I forced a smile. "You're so generous, Michael. Always looking out for your little sister." My father nodded approvingly. "It's about time you grew up, Olivia. This entrepreneurship fantasy has gone on long enough." If they noticed the strange glint in my eyes, they probably dismissed it as tears of resignation. They had no idea they were tears of anticipation. "A toast," Michael declared, raising his glass. "To Sullivan Enterprises' biggest triumph, and to my wayward sister finally finding her way home." Everyone raised their glasses. I raised mine too, but I was toasting to something entirely different. Later that night in my office downtown, not the small rented space they imagined, but the entire top floor of a sleek high-rise. I opened my safe and pulled out a thick folder labeled Project Global. Inside were documents that would make tomorrow's merger signing very interesting indeed. Documents that proved I wasn't just playing with computers in some startup fantasy. My phone buzzed, a text from my executive assistant. Everything's ready for tomorrow's meeting. Board members confirmed. Legal team standing by. I smiled, remembering Michael's condescending smirk, my father's dismissal, my mother's thinly veiled shame. They thought they knew everything about the business world, about success, about power. Tomorrow they would learn how wrong they were. I picked up my phone to respond to the text, but paused to look at the framed article on my wall, the one my family had never seen. The Forbes profile that named Precision Tech as one of the most innovative companies in America. The article that carefully avoided showing any photos of the mysterious founder and CEO. Confirm the meeting, I typed. And make sure the photographer is ready. I want to capture every moment when they realize who they've been mocking all these years. Tomorrow would be interesting indeed. Because while Sullivan Enterprises thought they were acquiring Global Financial Solutions, they didn't know that 6 months ago, Global had already been quietly acquired by another company. My company. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. Sometimes it's served with a signing ceremony and a CEO title they never saw coming. The morning of the merger signing dawned bright and clear. I stood in my private bathroom at Precision Tech headquarters, applying the finishing touches to my makeup. Today's appearance had to be perfect, not for them but for me. Gone was the simple blue dress from last night's dinner. Instead, I wore a tailored Chanel suit in charcoal gray Louboutin heels, and the vintage Cartier watch my grandmother had secretly left me in her will. For when you're ready to show them who you really are, her note had read. Today I was ready. My assistant Sarah knocked on the door. The Sullivan Enterprises contingent has arrived. They're being escorted to the main conference room. And Global Financial's representatives? Already here. Mr. Davidson is playing his part perfectly. I smiled. Thomas Davidson, Global CEO, had been more than happy to help orchestrate this revelation. He'd never forgiven Sullivan Enterprises for a hostile takeover attempt 5 years ago, the same event that had opened my eyes to my family's true nature. How's my brother looking? I asked, adjusting my jacket. Smug, Sarah replied with a knowing smile. He's been bragging to everyone about how he orchestrated this deal personally. Oh, Michael. Still taking credit for other people's work. Some things never changed. I checked the secure feed on my phone, watching my family settle into the conference room. My father sat at what he assumed would be his end of the table, radiating authority. Michael paced nearby, practically glowing with self-importance. Even my mother had come to witness her son's crowning achievement. The papers are all in order? I confirmed with Sarah. She patted the leather portfolio under her arm. Everything's ready. Legal team standing by. And, she grinned, the photographer is in position. I took one final look in the mirror. 5 years of careful planning had led to this moment. 5 years of working in secret, using a different name, building Precision Tech into a technological powerhouse while letting my family believe I was struggling with some small-time startup. The acquisition of Global Financial Solutions had been my masterpiece, conducted so quietly that even the business papers hadn't caught wind of the real buyer. Sullivan Enterprises thought they were walking into a simple merger signing. They were walking into their own humiliation. It's time, I said to Sarah. Let's give them a show they'll never forget. The walk to the conference room felt like a dream. Each click of my heels on the marble floor brought me closer to the moment I'd imagined countless times. Outside the heavy wooden doors I paused. Ladies and gentlemen, Sarah's voice rang out as she entered ahead of me. Please welcome the CEO of Precision Technologies. I pushed open the doors. The look on Michael's face was worth every second of the past 5 years. He froze mid-sentence, his expression morphing from confusion to disbelief to horror in the span of seconds. My father's face went pale, then red, then pale again. My mother actually grabbed the table for support. Good morning, I said calmly, walking to the head of the table. Shall we begin? Olivia. Michael sputtered. What are you doing here? I sat down, arranging my papers with deliberate precision. I believe we're here to sign a merger agreement. Though perhaps not the one you were expecting. This is ridiculous. My father stood up, his face thunderous. Where are the global financial representatives? What is this nonsense? Thomas Davidson cleared his throat. I am here representing Global Financial Solutions. Though perhaps I should clarify, Global Financial has been a subsidiary of Precision Technologies for the past 6 months. The room erupted in chaos. My brother lunged forward, but stopped short when security stepped into view. This is impossible, he breathed. Your company, it's just a small startup. I pulled out a sleek tablet and projected our company financials onto the wall screen. Precision Technologies. Current market valuation $4.2 billion. Our AI-driven financial analysis software is used by 8 of the top 10 investment firms worldwide. Though we kept our ownership structure private for personal reasons. My father's legal team was frantically flipping through documents, their faces growing increasingly alarmed. The terms of the merger, I continued smoothly, are quite straightforward. Sullivan Enterprises will be absorbed into Precision Tech's Financial Services division. All current executive positions will be subject to review. You can't do this, my father's voice shook with rage. We're your family. Family. I raised an eyebrow. Funny, that didn't seem to matter when you were mocking my pathetic startup all these years. When you told every business contact you had not to work with me. When you tried to freeze me out of the industry entirely. Michael's face had turned an interesting shade of gray. The investors, they'll never approve this. Actually, Thomas Davidson interjected, the majority shareholders have already approved the merger. Your father's leadership has cost Sullivan Enterprises nearly 40% of its market value over the past 3 years. They're quite eager for new management. I opened the leather portfolio Sarah had placed before me. Now, shall we discuss the terms of your retirement package, Dad? I'm afraid the golden parachute isn't quite as generous as the one you gave yourself, but we need to think of shareholder value. And what about me? Michael's voice had risen to a near squeak. I'm executive vice president. I corrected gently. The position is being eliminated. Though I'm sure with your extensive experience you'll find something suitable. Perhaps an entry-level position? Something appropriate for your, what did you call it last night? Experience level. My mother finally found her voice. Olivia, please. We're your family. You can't just what, Mom? Can't succeed on my own? Can't build something bigger than Sullivan Enterprises? Can't prove that all your doubts, all your mockery, all your condescension was wrong? I stood up, surveying the room. The photographer was capturing every moment, every shocked face, every detail of their humiliation. The papers need to be signed by noon, I announced. I have another meeting at 1, a rather important client in Singapore. Sarah will walk you through the details. As I turned to leave, Michael grabbed my arm. Wait, please. I can change. We can work together. Like real siblings. I looked at his hand until he released me, then met his desperate gaze. You know what the funny thing is, Michael? If any of you had shown even a hint of support, a moment of genuine interest in what I was building, I might have actually wanted to work with you. But you were all too busy laughing at my failure to notice my success. And now? My father asked quietly. Now? I smiled. Now I don't need any of you. Sign the papers. Or don't. Either way, Sullivan Enterprises belongs to me. The only question is whether you want to make this messy and public, or quiet and dignified. They signed. One by one, I watched them scrawl their signatures on the documents that ended their control of the family legacy. My father's hand trembled. Michael could barely hold the pen. My mother dabbed at her eyes with an expensive handkerchief. Later that evening, alone in my office, I poured myself a glass of champagne and looked out over the city. My phone had been buzzing all day with messages from relatives who had suddenly remembered my number. Cousins who wanted to reconnect. Aunts and uncles who were always on my side. I deleted them all. Sarah knocked and entered with a tablet. The press release is ready. Want to see tomorrow's headlines? I glanced at the screen. Tech giant Precision Technologies acquires Sullivan Enterprises in surprise merger. Below was a photo of my family signing the papers, their faces a portrait of defeated arrogance. Perfect, I said, raising my glass. Send it out. By the way, Sarah added with a grin, your brother's office has been cleared out. Where should we send his collection of participation trophies? I laughed. Donate them. He needs to learn that in the real world, showing up isn't enough to deserve a prize. As night fell over the city, I thought about the long road that had led to this moment. The late nights coding our first AI algorithms. The investors who took a chance on my vision. The team who helped build precision tech into a powerhouse while maintaining absolute secrecy about its ownership. My phone buzzed again, a message from my father. You've destroyed this family. I typed back a single response. No, Dad. I just showed you what real success looks like. Then I blocked his number along with everyone else from my old life. The Sullivan family could keep their mansion, their social clubs, their petty power games. I had built something bigger than they could ever imagine. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just proving them wrong. It's building an empire so vast that their kingdom looks like a child's sandcastle in comparison. And I was just getting started.